Would you be willing to put your information down for this?
For me to do what? For me to actually house an immigrant family?
Yes.
If my apartment was bigger than a shoebox, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Hey everyone, today we're in Washington, D.C. asking people if they support sanctuary cities, and if they do, would they be willing to take an immigrant in themselves? Let's go see what they have to say. How do you feel about sanctuary cities?
Oh my God.
I think they're great.
I think it's really important that we, as a community, stand up for all of the people who are in our community, whether or not they were born here.
I think we need to use that button to push the White House to do something.
I think America's a melting pot, and so everyone should be allowed to be here. And
I tend to be sympathetic towards sanctuary cities, just because I'm sympathetic towards immigration in general.
And the whole build the wall thing, not really about that either.
I think sanctuary cities are great.
In favor, against?
I'm against it. Yeah, I don't support sanctuary cities because most of them are going against laws on immigration. This is God's land. So to me, I think if this is the land of the free and home of the brave, then if people have a right to come to this state, as long as they do it in the right way. You got to follow the law. If you don't follow the laws, there's no use in having them.
A policy idea that the Trump administration has talked about floating is taking overflow from ICE detention centers and putting them in sanctuary cities. What do you think about that?
I mean, if it gets people out of detention centers, sure, bring them to D.C.
These sanctuary cities exist, but do they have the resources to sort of accommodate, all of those who need sanctuary?
I don't understand really why they're sending immigrants to particular places. It seems to me once you live in a country, once you work in a country, you should have the freedom of movement to go wherever you want to go.
I just think they should leave them alone.
Well, I think if they're in agreement to receive it, I say open the doors.
I have no problem having neighbors who are immigrants, regardless of how they got into this country.
If it does happen, if 90,000 people all arrive in Arlington, I suspect we'll be able to absorb that a lot better than we think we are.
We have a sign-up sheet here from an online organization to be in contact about potentially housing immigrant or refugee families. Would you be willing to put your information down for this?
For me to do what? For me to actually house an immigrant family?
Yes.
If my apartment was bigger than a shoebox, I would do it in a heartbeat.
In here, that sounds like a really good thing, but do you know something? Right now, I'm basically taking care of issues of this nature.
I literally don't have enough space for a cat, much less a human being. Otherwise, I would be happy to do it.
So I live in a very small apartment, so I wouldn't be able to. And I'm also a recent graduate.
We don't have much room, but sure.
Yeah, totally.
Because you talked about resources. Do you think that there is any limit on a country's resources in terms of how many people can take in? Do you think there is any kind of limit for how many people a country can sustain in terms of periods for assimilation or anything like that? Or you totally think it's a made-up issue?
I think it's largely a made-up issue. I think the country is mostly empty. If you've ever taken a cross-country flight from Los Angeles to New York or one coast to the next, look out the window. The country is largely empty.
Do you think there's any kind of sensible limit on immigration or processing immigrants? Or, what's your general idea?
Look, I'm not an expert on immigration.
The law's the law, and if you can't change the law, if you don't like them, change them. Just don't break them.
It's not really up to me or, frankly, someone as dumb as Donald Trump to come up with that solution.
So I didn't really know what to expect today, and we definitely had some people make excuses about having apartments that were too small. But to my surprise, we actually did get some names. So I'm impressed. Overall, DC, you're a strange and weird place, but it's exciting, and we'll see you next week back here on the streets.
It says a woman's place is in the revolution.
Is that Princess Leia?
In the resistance, I'm sorry. It is. My mother got it for me.
I'm a big Star Wars fan.